Now, I want to start out by clarifying something. I'm using the word beat juggling to describe a process that is basically this. But to be real, this is actually beat slicing and finger drumming. It's a technique that was introduced to the music making world when samplers became a thing. So, what is beat juggling then? Well, it used to look like this: two vinyl players and a DJ mixer in between. You had beats running on two vinyls, and you either mixed them together or you were switching in between them, juggling them back and forth. Right, so growing up, I was watching people performing this beat juggling technique using beats from Motown records and funk records to create the start of jungle, drum and bass, and break beats. And there was one beat in there that I completely fell in love with, and I'm not the only one because millions of people have fallen in love with this beat. It's the AmenBreak. Now, to make a long story short, this all has had a huge impact on me and my life and the way I think about music. And when I got my first sampler, I started doing this kind of beat juggling technique, even though it really is beat slicing and finger drumming. And here's the thing, I was never able to focus hard enough to get really good at it. I'm 45 now, I've been doing it for 30 years, and yes, I'm still not good at it. My timing is not completely off, but it's not good enough. And so, what to do? Well, introducing the AmenBreak Generator app. One word, quantized timing. That's actually two words. And so, the AmenBreak Generator is an app that offered that assistance right out of the box. It was set up to quantize the slice playback to eighth notes, and that just made it so that the timing sounded much better, even though I was triggering these slices a little bit faster or a little bit slower than I was supposed to. It's not the only thing it did, because it also gave you a way of putting effects on your loops and reversing loops and freezing loops and doing loads of things. Yeah, a very fun app. And this is an app that came out long before we even had stuff like Audio Bus. No, that's not right. The AmenBreak Generator app came out back in July 2013, and this was 6 months after the first version of Audio Bus hit the App Store back in December 2012. So this is in a time when most developers do not even know that there is this new technology that allows them to stream audio between apps and also live. You see, most apps were relying on internal audio recording, which is why the AmenBreak Generator came out with that. And so it took them more part of 2013 and even 2014 for the Audio Bus technology to get integrated in more apps. Well, the AmenBreak Generator app was taking off the App Store because the developer hadn't updated it for a while, and it was a 32-bit app. We got an iOS version updated with 64-bit architecture, and so the app got removed from the App Store. Now, I made a video not too long ago lamenting this fact that the best beat juggling app on iOS was no longer available for purchase. And then I contacted the developer and I showed him my video. And he saw it and he said, "Thank you so much for the love, bro." And then it disappeared. Well, a few months later, I couldn't believe it. He actually brought the app back from the app graveyard. Here it is. You can now buy the AmenBreak Generator once again. Mind you, it is still that old legacy version of the app. There is still no AUV3, no inter-app audio. You still have to rely on the internal recording to record waveforms of the performances you do in here. But all of the core functionalities of the app is still there. Now, you cannot load your own loops. I know that's the first thing people are going to be wondering, especially old users of AmenBreak Generator. It hasn't gotten any new features, but what it does have now is access to the iOS Files app, meaning anything you record in the app is now easily accessible through the iOS Files app, which is an upgrade. So it works just like it did before, only now we can use it on newer versions of iOS, and I'm super happy about it. So, do I recommend the app? Yes, to anyone who wanted to try out AmenBreak Generator, which was quite a few people that saw my previous video on it and wanted to try it out. Now you can do that. It's only a few bucks, and I still think it's worth it, even though you don't have these modern features we're used to. Now, the most important thing here is the functionality of the AmenBreak Generator. How it works with the slice, playback, and quantization, and also the fact that you can add effects on top of your loop. And I bring this up again because I did ask help from the community in that video I made about the AmenBreak Generator app being gone from the App Store. I wanted help with finding an alternative because all of the apps I had tried just couldn't do it the proper way like the AmenBreak Generator app. Well, I got a lot of help from people following me over at Instagram and also Twitter, which is now called something stupid. And then I also got a lot of help from people from the AudioBus forum. And on the AudioBus forum, they pointed me towards Grooverider GR16 by Jim Pavlov. And I'll show you that later on in the video. Because first, I want to show you how you can set up a session for beat juggling with the same behavior as you have inside AmenBreak Generator with Loopy Pro. Okay, so when we're done with our setup inside Loopy Pro here, it's gonna look like this, but I wanna show you how to do this from scratch and a few tricks if you end up having timing issues. So we're gonna go to the upper left corner here to the file icon and then just press new project. We're not gonna bother with saving what we had before, so just discard changes and there we have our new project. The next thing we need to do is to activate the edit mode, and we do that by pressing the pencil down here. Next, I'm gonna select all of the loops and just delete them. And then I'm gonna add only one. So we press here and we have our loop. Now the loop window view can be either square or circular. If you keep the aspect ratio 1:1, it will be a circle. But if you stretch any side of it, it will become a square. So we're just gonna make a long square to have it look more like the AmenBreak Generator. Next, we tap this window and we go to the file import, which can be found right up here in the upper right corner. We press this, and in here we can see our files and documents, samples and stuff like that. And right down here, I already have an AmenBreak loop. Now, all of these files, the projects you save and the samples and things you want to put into Loopy Pro here, well, you can all manage it from within the iOS Files app, which I really like. And that's what I did. I put the AmenBreak in the root folder there, which is why it pops up here. So we're just going to select this and press import. And right now, we're not going to do any changes. We're just going to make sure the loop is selected, and then we're going to close down this window. The next thing we need to do is to add the actual slicer. So we go to the little icon here with the 3x3 grid, we press it and select Clip Slicer. Next, we select the slicer by moving it around and stretch it out so it has a 2x8 grid. The next thing we're going to do is to select it so that we get this menu pop up. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually to change the color up here in the upper right corner to orange, so it's closer to the AmenBreak loop window here. The next thing we need to do is to link this clip slicer to that loop player. So we go into clip and we select the AmenBreak loop player. Next, we need to divide the slices, and in this case, we want them divided evenly between the 16 pads, just like in AmenBreak Generator. So we select divide evenly down here, and then we need to set up the quantization to eighths. So we go up here where it says eighths. There's only one thing left to do, and it is to activate the continue playback from slices. This function is pretty new, and Michael added this in an update after I asked him if it was possible to set Loopy Pro up to function like the AmenBreak Generator app. So thank you, Michael, for that generous update. And there we go. Right now, we're done. So we can just tap outside of the window here. We can deactivate the edit mode. And now we can actually just start the timeline playback, start up the loop, and start beat juggling. As you can hear, sometimes we get timing issues. We can't hear the snare drum when I'm clearly pressing the snare drum rapidly. I found a workaround for this, and that is to halfen the speed of the timeline and the loop and change the quantization. And that way you can get a more perfect timing. And I'm gonna go into the AmenBreak loop player, and we're gonna change the BPM. Now it says 164.9. I'm gonna calculate that as 165. And if we divide that, we get 82.5. So I'm gonna put it down to 82.5 here. Let's see, we go down. Suggested 82.4. Well, okay, we're gonna select that. And next we're gonna close this window down. And if you look closely here, you can see that the loop and the master tempo are linked. So it actually sets the tempo for the timeline to play at 82.4 BPMs. Now we're almost there. We just need to go into the clip slicer and change the quantization down to 16ths. And there we go. And we're gonna tap outside of the window and check this out. And remember, we're working from within Loopy Pro here, which means we can add more stuff to it. Here we have Grooverider GR16 by Jim Pavlov. It's one of the best Groovebox apps on iOS. It's from the same guy who made Poison 202 and also Pure Acid. So yeah, everything he puts out, well, it's always a banger. Now, Grooverider has a very neat function called Jump, which allows you to beat juggle any pattern that you make, which is so awesome. I absolutely love it. And in order to get the same type of quantization that you get with AmenBreak Generator, well, again, we have to pull down the tempo of it and run it at half speed. As you can see, we've got the AmenBreak loaded here in part 1. And the clock is running at 82.5 BPMs. And in here, you actually have 16 parts, but we only need this one. Now, if we go to slice mode and just tap it again, we can see the actual loop here. If we go to edit here, we can see that I've set up a sequence where it plays all the slices one after another. So you can change this around any way you want, but the important thing is to make sure that all of the slices are being triggered one after another so we get the AmenBreak loop. Now after this, we just go to the jump mode, and now when playing it back, we can now beat juggle the entire pattern. And inside Grooverider GR16, we also have effects. And there you go, that's how you beat juggle in GR16. Now, to round this video up, I still want to say that there is still space for more beat juggling apps. There really is, because you can do so much more with the concept. When it comes to effects, when it comes to adding maybe extra instruments that does stuff on the side, there's so many things you can do. And I think that beat juggling on iOS has been, well, it hasn't been explored enough by developers. So if there's any developers out there with ideas on how to take this concept further and expand on it, I think you should, because we need more apps like this. So just go for it, all right? Right, thank you so much for watching this video. And before you leave, why don't you give me a thumbs up? And if you don't want to support my work, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to support me in any other ways, I have all of these links down there in the pinned comment. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.